Councillor Mohammed, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah again for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay, we also have Shaista Ghafoor. She's a community activist in the Ward 31 area, quite active in all these issues. And I know she's been dealing with a lot of water outages and electricity outages in the Asherville area, and people have been in touch with her to attend to these issues. Shaista, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for having us again on your show.
Mohammed, you've heard the clip of our President Ramaphosa and one of the officials from his office talking about damage to piping and infrastructure. Now, we know in eThekwini that the water loss exceeds 50% due to underground leaks. But, you know, in our area, forget about other areas in Stanley Copley Drive or Abdi Naidu Drive, when there's a burst water pipe, no sooner they come and fix it up, then there's a burst water pipe further down and it continues and all over the place. And the same applies to electricity outages. Now, there were allegations that, you know, you're getting these sort of mafia gangs going in and asking people to damage so we can get those water tankers coming in. And they charge quite a large amount of money. And even those tankers, too, they don't go to the right area. Some of them even dump the water to quickly refill and claim as much as possible. Now, is the eThekwini municipality aware of this problem that the state president is talking about? And is the investigating unit dealing with these issues?
They should be aware of it. And we've raised these issues about a weakening infrastructure. So there's two tiers you're talking about here. The weakening infrastructure or an ailing infrastructure where you have an excessive amount of burst pipes. And, you know, we asked these questions in council. We presented it for answers. And it's been confirmed that there's been excessive leaks. A lot of money is being spent on repairs. It's band-aid fixing. And that's what's going on. So if you look at the population explosion in the area, when these areas were developed many, many years ago, you had small communities where the infrastructure could cater for them. But as it grew and as a result of urbanization and public expansion, the water infrastructure itself cannot cater for it. And then the pressure reduction valves are also an issue because it can't take the pressure that's on demand. And that's, again, one of the reasons when, you know, the municipality introduced a month ago water restrictors. So it reduces the water pressure. And then, of course, there has been a lot of rumors about the water mafia, where there's been issue or discussions or rumors around certain people wanting to take control of the water infrastructure in Durban itself. So the municipality would know about this. And the worrying thing is, like, you know, what President Ramaphosa was saying, I think this was at the water summit, if I'm not mistaken, that the question arises, are municipalities being held to ransom? And why are we incapacitated to deal with this and to bring those thugs, and I'm going to call them thugs because it's thuggery, it's mafia tactics that they are using to bring them to book. So there was an article a few weeks ago I read. There was a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old youngster, started a business, knew nothing about anything, but he was given a tender to supply water tankers to a municipality. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So there are issues. The evidence has to come out at a point, and we need to know who are these people who are holding the municipality to ransom. Vandalism is another problem. If we look at that, that's another issue. You know, destruction of municipal property at reservoirs and everywhere else, where that's being sold out now to an even different tier of criminality. So that's another issue. And the municipality itself, as we raise these points, they said that they are not fully capable of taking care of this issue here. And that goes back also to the issue of copper theft. So that's why your streets are out. You've got no street lights. And reservoirs run low because, again, water's got another issue, supplying water to reservoirs where they've got electrical problems and valves always busting. So it's a multifaceted problem that's going to have to be unpacked at a very special indaba that the eThekwini municipality is going to need to do, and set up a proper task team with whatever law enforcement agencies is necessary to deal with the damage to infrastructure and the lack of water as it's going through.
Mohammed, the roads that they dig up to locate these burst water pipes, and sometimes these high voltage cables, they dig up and they don't sort of patch up those roads.
No repair is happening after.
And what happens is it's happening all over the place, and then they start getting more deeper and deeper, the the holes on these roads, the potholes. And the resultant effect is that you find a whole lot of potholes in many roads throughout the city. And, it takes a while before the city gets back to repair these roads, and it gets progressively worse. So these guys, instead of sorting out the problem, they're making it worse and making it difficult for the roads maintenance department to come in and tend to all these issues. Is council aware of the problem that one service provider comes in, he digs up the road, and it takes months for them to patch up the road?
They're aware of what's going on. The problem is your logistical issues and communication between departments. And this has come out from the city manager himself when he did a workshop with us as councillors in November last year. And they were adamant that departments are not communicating. So what happens, the plumbers will come out, or the water department will come out to sort out the burst pipes and everything, will dig up and do what they need to do and leave it after the backfill is done and, closing up that hole. The spoils then are not taken away because someone else has to come and take the spoils away. And then you need to get roads to come and do the tarring and the resurfacing. So that's what's happening. So you'd find the burst pipes are taken care of and it's just left like that. The spoils are laying on the side of the road for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It's not even been taken away. And then the tarring is not happening. So when community activists, for example, like Shaishda would reported that the spoils are not taken away, the road is not resurfaced, it'll get reported and get done because now they've been made aware of it. Or the councillor would do that. Or somebody would phone me and say, Councillor Ismail, this road has been left like this for a long time. So, we'd send an email or make a phone call to a department head and tell him this is what's going on, and it gets done. I mean, there was one problem we were dealing with on Crescent Street, and there was, from a pothole, it started developing into a cavity, if you want to call it, and it was gone there for months. Reported it, they came, they marked it, and that was the end of it. It stayed, it worsened, it deepened, and then I sent an email, sort of a cheeky email, to say, please, this must be done urgently. And within the next day, it was sorted out. So, it's a begging process. It's a process of keep on reminding, keep on asking, going cap in hand. But this shouldn't be the case. There has to be an efficiency, and there's no efficiency in all the departments at the moment. And that's where we need to hold the government, the different departments accountable and put pressure on them to say, listen, go faster, do your work quicker, because the community are ratepayers. There's ratepayers, and they deserve a better service than what they are getting.
Now, the problem continues in many other areas. I know we had Ish Pralad, he's from the Ratepayers Association Reservoir Hills. He says, it's a major problem there. We had councillors from Phoenix, Chatsworth, Tongaat. They say problem perpetuates in all these areas. And, the problem continues. Now, on Monday, Mayor Cyril Kaba tabled the 71.3 billion budget with operating costs at 62 billion. That's where your maintenance comes out, and 7.1 billion in capital. And it was considered in the full council meeting. Now, they say it is firmly focused on service delivery, rehabilitation, and replacement of infrastructure, as well as economic development. That's a commitment council is giving. That's on the one side. But on the other side, they're talking about in the proposed budget of tariff increases for 2025-26, 12.72% for electricity, 15 and 60% for water in households and business respectively. So 15% they want people to pay more for water. Now, residents are struggling. Many of them are pensioners and grantees. They got rental to pay. They got these utilities to pay. How are they going to put food on the table is becoming a major problem. And there's a 13 and 14% for domestic and business sanitation, 9% on domestic. Now, according to some of the ratepayer associations, they're saying there is so much wasteful expenditure, like 2.8 million to rebrand the municipality's logo. And then, there's a high unemployment rate. How are people going to afford to pay basic services? So, according to a statement of a Tekwani municipality, the public is encouraged to participate in a public participation process for a draft budget and proposed tariff adjustments. And I'm sure most of the ratepayer associations will not support this. We're going to get some ratepayers from Pietermaritzburg shortly to talk about what's happening in Pietermaritzburg, something similar. But the bottom line is people are fed up, and they obviously cannot afford to pay. They are facing disconnection, and the council is quite efficient in disconnecting electricity and water. And residents, are tired. And this includes not only the former Indian and colored areas, but it's also the African areas and also the informal settlements where people are struggling to make ends meet. Now, from the budgeting perspective, when the budget was being announced, what was the reaction from the councillors in the full council meeting?
Well, it was a day of Eid, so I wasn't at the council meeting to gauge the reaction. But I do know there were parties there that were unhappy with it. We would, as the ACC, would be unhappy with the increases in terms of tariffs and rates and everything else, because you can see the way the economy is moving and the affordability. People are living below the breadline. In some households, there's only one person who's earning, and you still have to pay those tariffs. And the way I see it, this public participation process is unfortunately window dressing, and we must admit that. All you're doing is window dressing. You say, come in, we'll listen to you. What do you have to say? This ratepayers association and that ratepayers association. But at the end of the day, the increases are going to go ahead. Like the electricity tariffs, NERS has given you the authority, and they've said, okay, you can put it up at this rate. So they've been putting it up at that rate. Now, the last budget, when the former mayor, they readjusted the budget and they reduced things by 1% or 0.5% here or 2% there. But how much of that is going back to the people? That has to be answered. There's nothing left to eat, unfortunately. And this is where communities are going to become poorer. They're going to languish in poverty, unfortunately, as the years go ahead, and things are going to become more expensive. While you're putting up electricity, you still have load shedding. While you're putting up tariffs, you still have service delivery issues. So how do you bring this to a level, and where does it meet? It's not happening, unfortunately. On paper, everything can look good. You can say, listen, I'm putting in 30 million or 300 million rand for the water infrastructure, but how long is that going to take to be rolled out to the people itself? Again, public participation is window dressing as far as I'm concerned.